I've got one piece of evidence. At this stage, we've got virtually all of Janacek's letters to Horvatova. We have no letters from Horvatova to him. But he says in one of his letters, the Stoessels are good people, you mustn't wrong them. So she's clearly been bad-mouthing, and that's had a disastrous effect upon his new piece. What I think probably needed to happen was for Horvatova to be out of the picture altogether. And the relationship had been deteriorating, particularly after the Vienna production of Jenůfer, where suddenly Janacek sees a fantastic production of his opera which doesn't have Horvatova as the Kostelnička. And I think at that stage it suddenly occurs to him that she is actually not necessary for his continued success. In December of 1918, the two Stoessels come and visit the two Janaceks, and it's a very happy meeting. The two Janaceks are getting on much better now that Horvatova's out of the scene. And Camilla, in one of her few letters, writes to Janacek saying what a happy visit it was, that she was so glad to see the sun shining on them again, and she felt as though she was Janacek's daughter. And at last we had a clue that if the four of them, the two Janaceks and the two Stoessels, could feel that the relationship between Camilla and Janacek was between daughter and father, that was an okay way of proceeding. Within a couple of months after that, he started the diary again.
And everything was fine. But, as we've been told, everything was anything but fine. Or rather, everything was wonderful for Janacek musically. But as for the marriage to Zdenka, well, just look at this photograph.
I feel sorry that as you write, your wife is suffering because of me. Perhaps you should show her more affection. I make no claims on you, but she as your wife has a right to everything. How can your wife feel if you say that you and I are bound together? Do you know what this means?
Who will comfort my sorrowing heart? Not Camilla, so far as we know. Whenever they met over the next 6 years, it was almost always in company and on neutral territory. The letters poured out of him, over 600 of them, but the intimacy seems to have been all on one side.
There's a letter written just a few months before he died, where he says, "Oh, how much I'd like to hug you," and you just slip away from me. And that's as far as he'd got.
But you can't deny his need of her, at least as what Szczedron calls a pretext. Between their meeting and his death, she was the pretext for 4 operas, 2 symphonic works, 2 string quartets, and the Glagolitic Mass. I wonder if this is what sets him apart from his contemporaries. It seems to me there are composers like Stravinsky who tried to deny any influence of external matters on music. Music was just about music. Was Janacek always a composer for whom the emotional landscape of his life was terribly important in the inspiration of his music?
Já si myslím, že Janáček je určitě jiný typ než Stravinsky. Já se na to dívám podobně jako Stravinsky, že si myslím, že hudba je hudba a emoce jsou emoce. Janáček každopádně ale vždycky svoje emoce nějakým způsobem interpretoval a potřeboval, aby skladba měla nějaké okolí, nějakou atmosféru. Jestli je to Kamila, nebo jestli je to nějaký jiný podnět.
Janacek was clearly working himself up into a high state of anxiety, waiting for his gypsy to visit him in his Hochwalde cottage. Camilla's stay was intended to be the climax of their relationship.
Přijela v roce 1928, to bylo v době, kdy už jí tykal, kdy vlastně vrcholil ten emotivní vztah k ní, tak asi už nechtěl ponechat nic náhodě, tak já si myslím, že modernizace interiéru, která začala elektrifikaci domečku v lednu 1928, už byla motivována tou vízí vlastně navštěvy Kamily Šteslové. Potom to pokračovalo během dubna a května realizací výstavy vlastně hostovského pokoje, čili prvního patra, a na prázdniny bylo všechno nachystáno.
Kamila se odhodlala k té cestě, přijela tam celá rodina Šteslova a nakonec tam zůstala Kamila se synem. To je známá věc a řekl bych, že vyvrcholila Janáčkův způsob vedení toho deníku, že protože památník pro Kamilu Šteslovou, kterou Janáček vlastně začal takto nějak systematicky jakoby deskribovat i hudebně, tak ten je veden od konce roku, nebo respektive od podzimu roku 1927. Ta činnost pokračuje a my jsme třeba hudebně jsme velmi na rozpacích, jak to máme hodnotit, protože v podstatě je to formou jakýchsi malých klavírních skladbiček, které jsou jakési komentáře k těm situacím, umělecké komentáře. Přitom vůbec stylově jsou v rámci Janáčka velmi, řekl bych, takové, nechci říct primitivní, ale jsou velmi jednoduché, jsou takové, jak na to nejsme zvyklí u Janáčka, že čili chápeme, že se stalo něco nového a že tady tenhle ten proces probíhá. Vyvrcholí to potom skladbou Čekám tě, kterou považujeme za jednu z úplně posledních melodických myšlenek.
Just hear how Janacek imagined their idyllic time together in a letter he wrote while he waited for her to arrive.
I've already painted your stay in Hochwalde so beautifully in my mind that I'm almost frightened that an evil turn of events might thwart these passionate wishes. To dance attendance as a faithful shadow on my Camilka and serve my queen, and let all beautiful dreams float down and come true.
And what happened? If only we had a witness. But we do. We have Camilla's son.